This guy, right?
Harry Potter is one of the most famous things out there. At the very least, you've seen a bit of one of the movies on TV. As a proud millennial, I watched the movies before reading the books, but there's also the other medium. Harry Potter's had two types of video game adaptations. The first are the games released alongside the movies and having completely different versions on every platform, and the LEGO Harry Potter games that released later and condensed the story a lot. I'll be starting with the non-LEGO games. The best place to start would be the Philosopher's Stone. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone has 5 different versions: the PlayStation 1 version, the Windows and Mac version, the GameCube, PlayStation 2 and Xbox version, the Game Boy Color version, and the Game Boy Advance version. Now, I'm not going to review every version thoroughly because of the sheer amount of them. Let's start with the PS1 version. The game is played like a third-person platformer and puzzle game. The story follows a linear progression separated into levels with a specific end goal. Spells are learned via lesson levels and unlock increasingly complex puzzles. The spell's features are Flipendo, which can be used to stun enemies and push objects around, Alohomora, which unlocks doors and chests, Wingardium Leviosa, which can levitate objects, Lumos, which causes platforms of light to appear, and Incendio, which can disable aggressive plants. The storyline follows Harry through the main events of the book's plot, including rescuing Hagrid's dragon Norbert, advancing through the various protections around the Philosopher's Stone, and eventually defeating Voldemort. There are also several levels in which Harry can fly on a broomstick and play Quidditch, and they are terrifying. I can assure you, you're going to see this ring minigame again and again in every single game to come. The Windows and Mac versions of the game are the same style 3D puzzle platformer, however there's one small difference: the game is completely different. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. The Game Boy Color game is an RPG similar to games like Pokemon and Final Fantasy. Never thought I would make that comparison. The player controls Harry starting from when Hagrid brings him to Diagon Alley. It follows the story of the book closely, with almost all of the scenes from that point on in the book being playable, except for the addition of bands of monsters such as rats, bats and spiders roaming most of the locations. The spells are used for combat rather than interacting with the environment. And then you have the Game Boy Advance version, which is a puzzle game. What? The player explores Hogwarts and must attend classes, which often include a challenge of collecting a certain number of items such as challenge stars or potion ingredients. The game features the familiar monsters from the other games in the series, such as snails and gnomes. The PS2, GameCube and Xbox version is a lot more in line with the PlayStation 1 and PC versions, but they look better because of the leap in generations. And yes, this game is also completely different from that version. Moving on to Chamber of Secrets, we have almost the same offering. Very similar games while being completely bloody different again. And also having 5 versions again. Really, these games are so similar, they look like EA games. Oh. Moving on. What, did you want to see me talk about what are basically the same games again? Quidditch World Cup, the first game that is basically the same across platforms. In this game you play Quidditch, confusingly. The premise is actually pretty interesting, but the game falls flat because you play the entire team and switch when necessary. I hear you ask, what is wrong with controlling every position, everything? To be fair, it works. The annoying stuff is probably because of age and me not playing many sports games, but it's really not my thing. Next is Prisoner of Azkaban, and we're back to this garbage. At least there are on PS1 and Game Boy Color versions of this game, that makes a total of 3 different versions. Still a lot, but understandable. Again, the console and PC games are action platformers with quests and lessons respectively. I personally prefer the console versions, but they're again very similar. And the GBA version is an RPG. Alright. Goblet of Fire is weird. The game is split up into particular levels rather than free roaming around Hogwarts like in earlier games. Levels are played from parts of the book the game is based on, with levels ranging from the Quidditch World Cup, the Prefect's Bathroom, and the Herbology Greenhouses, which can be entered from the in-game Pinnaceave. The game also features modes outside of combat, including broomstick flying and underwater swimming. In the first for the series, you can play the game with friends, and can combine their magic and spells to make them more powerful. You can also capture moving beings using Accio and increase their power with collectors, creature and character cards. The game is divided into several non-consecutive levels, some of which are locked at the beginning of the game until the player collects enough Triwizard Shields to unlock it. Basically a more arcadey way to do a Harry Potter game. That doesn't make it good though. With this game having separated levels, the world feels really incohesive. This is probably the worst Harry Potter game. And the DS, PlayStation Vita and GBA versions of this game are actually decently favourable to the console games. Still not that fun. Next up is Order of the Phoenix, and wow, this game is actually really enjoyable. The game presents the player with a large part of the Harry Potter universe. You can go to known places, including the Ministry of Magic, Grimmauld Place and Little Winging. As well as the main missions, you can explore Hogwarts and interact with objects using magical spells to earn discovery points. You can duel Slytherins in the entrance courtyard, paved courtyard and specific floor corridors. You can also duel throughout the story. Most of them are played as Harry. Nevertheless, near the end, you will play as Sirius Black and Dumbledore in different duels. Earning discovery points increases the power of owned spells and earns player bonuses such as behind the scenes videos and trophies, which can be viewed in the room of rewards. Items in the room, such as trophies, can also be unlocked by taking part in the various minigames such as Exploding Snap, Wizard Chess and Gobstones. There are various missions to complete which follow the storyline of the book, such as the recruiting of Dumbledore's army members or creating havoc when Umbridge is made headmistress. This game is probably my favourite of the bunch, just the exploration alone makes this one really good. The handheld versions try to be faithful to the console versions, but the stationary camera and transitions make the exploring unfun. Half-Blood Prince is more of the same but with potions. And a lot of potions. Half-Blood Prince features the exploration of Hogwarts and casting spells on objects around the school like Order of the Phoenix. The game also includes multiplayer games, classes, different times of day, Quidditch, wizard duels and potion making. Harry can also call nearly headless Nick to show him around. Harry is the main playable character in the game, but Ron and Ginny are also available in 2 levels. The big difference is that the game's main missions are minigames that get really repetitive really fast. Potion brewing, Quidditch and duels. You do these over and over again and, as I said, they get really repetitive. The DS version tries to be as faithful to the main game as possible, with some extra minigames and stylus integration. I'm going to be putting the 2 next games together because their gameplay is identical. And with the 2 next games, I mean Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2. Yes, for some reason they split the games up too. The player controls Harry from a third-person over-the-shoulder camera and is played in the style of a third-person shooter. Why? I don't get it, but what about Magic says Call of Duty? This is one of the weirdest decisions in the series and there was no reason for it. These games are the most gamey games in the series, there being XP is a good example, but if I wanted to play a third person shooter, I would play Call of Duty. At around the same time LEGO Harry Potter became a thing. It's really odd. After playing these games I can comfortably say that I am not a LEGO Harry Potter guy. LEGO Harry Potter's gameplay is similar to that of most other LEGO games with an emphasis on collecting, exploring and solving puzzles. Casting spells is an integral part of the gameplay with a wide range of spells available for unlocking as the player progresses. As there are many spells available in the game, you can use the spell wheel to select the spell. Potion making is another integral feature. Potions can help the player progress through levels. There are also Kinect and PlayStation Move games. They exist. Okay, they're fine, but they're Kinect and PlayStation Move games. Do I really need to spend more time on them than I should? And that are, except for some mobile and really obscure games, all of the Harry Potter video games. Almost all of these are really fun experiences, and I definitely recommend checking out at least one of these games. But the best one in my opinion is Order of the Phoenix, though some of the earlier PS2 games are also really good.